Welcome back. Again, sorry for the squished video. We're trying to get my fingers in on this one as well. Let me turn on some lights. There. So, today we're going to continue the series on the 7 modes, the Greek modes. The only scales you really need to learn to play most bass parts. I get email, well I should say comments on my YouTube channel about, hey, where do I get my music? There's 370 songs up there now. Normally when I do a song, it takes about an hour or two to do it, especially if it's new. I play by ear. There is no music. If you've ever tried to find music, it's very difficult to find. And when you do find it, what's written is what somebody's opinion of what the song is. It might not be the exact part. Normally, I want to listen to the recording and try to pick the parts out of the song. So I use a piece of software on the Mac called the Amazing Slow Downer of all names. It's kind of weird. But it's good for slowing down songs, changing the pitch. It's really good for practicing working with recorded music. The Amazing Slow Downer. I don't have anything to do with that company, but that's a good product. You can find it when you go into the App Store and search for it with a Mac, MacBook Pro or a Mac Mini. Anyway, when I play the songs, when I work on songs, generally I always play by ear, and a lot of people have talked to me about that. How do you play by ear? How do you learn to play by ear? And so we're talking a little bit about in the music theory and the ways that I've learned to play by ear. It's funny, but I learned music theory later in life. I could play songs before I knew why it worked, and so there's a lot to that. But once I started learning the Greek modes and working with them, then when I see a pattern, I can pick it up. There's really 2 key things to playing by ear, and I'm going to have a lecture on this coming up soon. One is being able to estimate intervals. The other one really is to be able to see a pattern and play through a pattern. So when you get into a complicated technical part of a song, generally there's some pattern they're playing. If you see somebody playing some pattern, that pattern looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you'll see patterns like that all the time, and where these patterns come from these modes and the extensions of these modes. If you keep playing one of these patterns and then keep going up an octave or keep going down an octave, there's a pattern, and it's just like walking across stones on a creek. The stones are the notes that fit in the key. The water are the notes that don't. If you step on the stones, you're doing fine. If you step in the water, you're going to get wet. It's going to play the wrong note. So these patterns are all it takes really to know where the stones are when you're stepping in the creek. So I use the patterns a lot when I'm working on intricate music and I see what they're playing, or oh, that's a Phrygian pattern, or I call it a mode 6 or a mode 5 pattern or something. And it helps me remember that pattern when it gets to it in the song. Because when I play a song, when you see a song up there, I think there's only one song I've ever broken into 2 parts. Most of the songs I play by memory straight through. Now you might be looking at the 15th take of it, because if I make enough mistakes, I'm going to do it over again. But I record a song from front to back. I learn it by playing by ear. I memorize it and I play it. That was the whole reason why I started this channel, was to give me a project to work on, to learn to memorize songs and work on my song memory. So I could work the songs up by ear, but can I remember them? And so anyway, knowing these scales really helps with that. Today I want to talk about mode 2 and mode 3. And there's 7 of them, so we'll kind of speed up next time, but I want to talk about mode 2 and mode 3 just to continue the discussion of these. Now remember, we said that these patterns are going to allow us to play a set of notes that are in a defined key, anywhere in the scale, starting anywhere in the scale. So we're going to always talk about G, and all the charts I'm going to put up, they'll be over here. The charts I'm going to put up are going to be in the key of G. This pattern works in any key. I'm just using the key of G because we can see it really well. So the key of G, starting with 1, the pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now all of the patterns that we're going to play, they're going to start at a different place, but they're always going to play those notes. That's because those are the notes that are in the key of G. So pattern 1 we talked about last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Pattern 2 starts here. Pattern 2 starts on the second, on number 2, the second note. And pattern 2 gives us, once again, gives us a pattern where all the notes are, we're just going to start here. But instead of doing it that way, just following the same pattern, there's a pattern that starts down here that you put in your fingers that's a little bit easier to finger. We're trying to keep the patterns right in this range of your hand so that you can finger the notes really quick and you're not having to move your hand up and down. So those are the notes of G scale, so are these. And now, let's talk about major and minor scales. Remember I said this major and minor scales relates to the chords that you can form if you play more than one of these notes at a time, right? A minor scale is always the third is flatted on a minor scale, and there may also be the seventh flatted in some of these crazy minor scales where almost all the notes are flatted, but the third really triggers the minor scale. So the first scale is a major scale. The number 1 pattern is a major scale because the 3 is not flatted. That's a flatted 3, or that's a flatted 3. Those two are the same note. 1, 2, there's your flatted 3, there's your flatted 3. 1, 2, there's your major 3, right? So the first pattern is a major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even the 7 is major, right? We're not flatting the 7 either. As we said in a lot of blues and rock, they like to flat the 7. 1, 2, and we're going to flat the 7 with one of these patterns in a minute. 1, 2, 3, that would be a flat 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, they say the number 2 is a minor. It's a minor chord. And the reason why, the number 2 has a flat 3 and a flat 7. And they just call that there's a name for the minor. I forget what it is, the dominant minor and the minor, but anyway, the classic minor and the dominant minor. But this one has the flat 3 and a flat 7. 1, 2, there's your flat 3, right? 4, 5, 6, there's your flat 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 8. You know, if you're listening to Scott's bass lessons or something, who is the most awesome bass player in the world, right? He's really good with his technical, like he would go, he wouldn't hit that with his pinky, he'd hit it with this finger, right? Because he's assigning one finger, one fret. And that's kind of the you know, if you want to play and learn these patterns, just play them up and down. And mix them up, right? That's the way to play. But it's got a flat 3rd and a flat 7, so it's definitely a minor. And if you listen to it, this one's got kind of a bright. This one's got a little bit more of a dark. So that's a minor. So if a guitar player is playing a chord and everybody goes to the 2, he's going to be playing a minor scale, and you're going to be arpeggiating the actual chord. And like I said, this is the scale that they would play for the key of G, because now all of these notes are in the key of G. Okay. Generally, when people refer to scales, they really talk about 3, 4, 5 note scales, but not only the 3 and 4 note scales. So when they talk about minor, they're usually talking about the 3rd, right? 7 can be flat as well. All right, so that's pattern 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 2. Now you know where 3 is. Major 3 is here. G is 1. By the way, there's another way to finger all these patterns. Another way to think of, like, the number 1 pattern is this way. It's kind of a stretchy one, but it looks interesting. Then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But this is kind of the classic way to think of a major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half. Like that, right? there's an interesting run in one of the Muses songs that I played for that you know kind of plays along with that, put some chromatic changes in it. Anyway, you can listen to those later. But most all these, like I say, come out of these patterns. Okay, so for three, you're going to start on 3. Let me just move my chart forward and I'll put it up here for you. So 3, now you remember we're 3, so you know 1, 2, 3. You know 4. 4 is just 1/2 step away from 3 in the scale, right? So you know 4. So you know 2 is going to have to be flatted on this one, right? So 1, 2, 3, and 3 is flatted as well. Because that would have been a normal 2, that's a flat 3. So 1, flat 2, flat 3. This one gets really weird, right? Right? 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8. Got it? 1, flat 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you look at this positionally. 1, 2, 3. Then the mirror image. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a good finger exercise because in the first one I'm hitting with my middle finger, second one hitting with my third finger. Right. It really is a good fingering exercise just to play around with these patterns. But this one is 1/2 step on the first front end on the first line, 1/2 step on the second end on the second line. And if you're thinking about the G scale, like I said, that's 2. That's got to be 3, right? That's got to be 3, right? Now you know 4 is just in a major scale. 4 is just 1 ahead, so we're still playing the same note. There's a 5. There's a 5, right? Well, there's a 6. It was a 6 as it was before, which is also up here. Seven, 8. There's the 8. There's your G right there. So now I show you these patterns, but I can't remember the last time I ever found a song that was using that pattern. But you know, if you're playing in a scale and somebody goes running up to the 3 and starts doing something right around the 3, then you know all those notes are in the key, right? You noodle around on the 3 and you're still in the key of G. So that's mode 2 and mode 3. So I'm going to go through, probably in the next video I might hit 4, 5, 6, and 7, just kind of wrap them up. But I'm also putting the graphics up here for these patterns. By the way, this one's called Phrygian. The original, I think I might have said it wrong on the first video. The mode 1 pattern is an Ionian pattern. Mode 2 is the Dorian pattern. Mode 3 is the Phrygian pattern. If you go up any day on Google Images or something and just type in Phrygian mode, or you'll get lots of graphics of it. In the videos up here, I'm going to show you what the pattern looks like on the guitar, and the guitar is oriented this way. So when you're seeing me playing it, the image up here is oriented with the same way with the guitar, with the strings up and down and left and right. When you get these on a graphic or something, they're oriented this way, like you're looking at it, look as if you took your bass off and you were looking at it this way, right? Which I don't know why they do that, but anyway. So in the images up here, I'll show you some scale extensions that are up here and different ways to finger them. They're all the same notes, they're just different ways to finger them. But I have flipped them vertical and horizontal so they're matching the orientation of this bass and that graphic that's up there. So I'll put them up there as well. And you know, learning the extensions of these are interesting. You'll see some of the extensions, they'll do something, they'll go run around a pattern, you know, you'll see they'll go something like, and you start seeing these places where you got these squares, and you see lead guitars going all the time, like I said, doing stuff without ever moving their hand, and you can see, I see in that pattern where that lead solo is and how they do that. all the lead solo, all the guitar players, stuff like that, that are playing lead solo stuff, they're all playing these patterns. And so they all learn them. And they play them. There's plenty of videos on it. Feel free to look at it. I'm not going to go through that stuff. But all of them are derived from Greek mode patterns. So, and the little yellow graphics, which I got off of Google Images, they show all these extensions of these patterns. They'll start here and they'll go 4 or 5 octaves up and down, starting above. And they'll say, you know, here's position 1. In other words, here's this pattern if we start it in position 1. Here's this pattern if we start it on the 2nd note, position 2. On the 3rd note, position 3. So you see the root will be back there. So they give you lots of fingering variations to play those scales. But I don't want to remember all that. That's just not... So I've just been... These patterns I'm showing you, the ones that I use to play these scales. And you know, once I go... Like if I play a pattern... Well, I can just start right here and keep going with it, right? I have, for the major scale, because it's so useful, I have learned a couple forms of the major scale. And then, of course, learning the scale to go down, right? But that major scale, you should really nail that one down, because the major scale are the notes of the key signature starting with the root note. So that is a very, very useful pattern. That pattern, when I start playing, if we play in G, if I stay in this position and I'm on pattern 1, I know where all the notes are immediately. If we're playing in D and I go here, I know where all the notes are. Up and down. And I didn't have to memorize it. I don't have to even think of the note or the position. I see the pattern, right? I've got that pattern down. So you should probably get the 1 pattern, the 5 pattern, the 4 pattern. You know, I've seen the 6 show up every once in a while. But you know, when you know that these songs spend a lot of time in 1, 4, 5, 6, you know, learn those patterns well. You know, when a song goes to 2, I mean, when a song is going to 2, there's something special going on. We played a song this weekend that has a 2 in it. You know, sometimes, but they're rare. The notes you see a lot of the times, and you'll see a lot of songs are riding around 1, 3, 4, 5. And a lot of the 3 shows up a lot, but 1, 3, 4, 5. So learning the 1 pattern, the 4 pattern, the 5 pattern, maybe the 6 pattern. I don't know if you want. I really haven't seen the 3 pattern that much, and it's a whole lot of flats. But learn those patterns, and I think they'll help you. And if you play all 7 and learn them and practice them, you'll know they start showing up every once in a while. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out what the key of the song is, and we'll talk about that in the video on how to play by ear. But it's not obvious because it can be confusing as to whether a song is in the key or the 5th. You can be playing a song that's in D, and it's actually in G. It just started in D, and you think the song is in G. But you'll notice from these patterns that if it's in D, then its number 1 pattern is different than it is in G. So sooner or later, if you got that number 1 pattern nailed down, you'll notice that difference. You go, oh, wait a minute, this is in G. That's really helpful to be able to nail down the key of the song. That's probably knowing intervals and knowing how to find the key of the song, because they don't always start. The first note is not always the key of the song. There are a lot of bands that really don't like to start with the... They do this all the time. They play a song and they don't start with a root note. So knowing the number 1 pattern really helps you figure that out. Because, you know, they're playing those notes in the scale. So if you're starting on number 1, you start on number 1 like... Well, that's the 7 of G. That's also the 3 of 4, right? There's 1. So D. That note's not in the G scale, right? So if I see that note going around, I know, oh, that's not a G. Then it's not in G. It's in D, right? So knowing that number 1 pattern really helps you figure out what the key is, the key signature for the song. Anyway, more videos to come. Catch you later.